That one glorious word represents more than just the geography between the Sabine and the Rio Grande. It represents a unique idea and way of life. A life of rugged individualism, proud self-reliance, gritty toughness, and fierce independence. That is what made Texas, and that is what will save her again. Howdy, folks. Sam Houston here. I want to thank you for tuning into the Feed Bandit podcast. Feed Bandit is the Texas first outdoors brand built by rabid Texans, for rabid Texans, and all those who aim to be one someday. We unapologetically promote the ideals that shape our Texas pride and Texas first patriotism through our love of hunting, the outdoors, and the gear and apparel we create. Texas, above all else, preserve the tradition, protect the legacy. Check us out at feedbandit.com. And to repeat that great rallying cry from a former colleague of mine, liberty or death. Now, enough of my talking. Here are a couple of bandits that love Texas as much as I do. Enjoy.
All right, so last time we visited, one of the things we were talking about was a daddy-daughter experience out at the Rancho Bandido. And we were looking for, different things that, folks can do out there in the woods, really, besides hunting and all that kind of fun stuff. So wanted to do a quick recap of that because quite frankly, it was a hell of a lot. We had a good time. It was a hell of a lot of fun. And obviously so glad that we did that and we just had a ball. So again, quick recap of that, and then we're gonna maybe jump into some other topics here. But first and foremost, I really think that the biggest success from the weekend by far was the fishing. Now, to kind of set the stage for you, if you will, the fishing was, and really kind of to be expected, was not expected to be all that good. Okay. Yeah, it was spring, okay, and yeah, the bass theoretically are on their beds and all that kind of stuff, or the big females are, and all that kind of fun stuff, and there's typically a lot of action, but it was also going to be pretty cool, unseasonably cool, to be honest with you, for early April. It was going to be, I think on that Saturday, it was going to be in the 50s or something of that nature, so. Not very nice, truthfully, in my opinion, especially given what's coming. Okay, and by that, of course, we mean the big heat that we know was on the way. But for the kiddos, it's maybe not as enjoyable. But they said, "Hey, we want to go fishing," and of course, God, who am I to say no to that, right? So, fishing we went, and we actually did pretty darn good. I was very, very, very impressed. And so I don't know, of course, I can't remember if we went into a lot of detail about my strategy with kid fishing or not, but it's been one that, especially when it comes to casting lures and stuff, has been pretty successful. And kind of the way we do it. The way I do it is first and foremost, as far as the reel or the combo I'm using, I always use, and it's just for lack of a better term, I use a Zebco type reel, so the push button reel. Okay, I think that one obviously is by far the easiest for them to do. It allows them to press the button and then you teach them and release it, and of course that lure goes for a ways, and it's actually a really good thing given the fact that the line's relatively lightweight. I think most of those are probably 6-pound tests, maybe up to 8-pound. So you put a little decent lure on there, and they can really crank that thing out there. And unlike the spinning cast reels, okay, I mean, it's instantly you get to go reeling, okay? Whereas I feel like with the spin cast for the younger kiddos, again, unless they've just used it before, there is a pause there where they have to kind of flip the bail. And then, of course, if you're in a kind of a mossier area with a lot of grass, obviously that's just going to lead to a false bite, right? When they actually are reeling into grass and they feel the tug, and they pulled up and it's quote unquote seaweed. So I love the fact that those Zebco type reels can really launch it out there, which I think is a really good way of doing it. I'm actually going to do a little research right now on the internet because I did not do my homework, and I am going to try to find the lure that we actually use. Let me see here, so I can actually tell you the name of it, and then I can actually go. We can actually go into kind of some of the strategy with it. Okay, perfect. That's kind of what I thought it was. So, I grew up calling it a Roadrunner head. Okay, and so what it is, it's a Roadrunner head, right? It's got a little spinner on there, a little blade. Sometimes it's got a little swivel on there, so the blade goes freely. Sometimes it's just more of kind of just one solid blade, but of course it moves. And then it's got a weighted jig head, okay, and then just a hook. And they come in an ounce, quarter ounce. They come in all different sizes, all different shapes, all different kinds of blades. Truthfully, the lure that really started this, and I'm again aging myself, was really the beetle spins. I think if anybody knows what a beetle spin is, you'll kind of know this. So the Roadrunner is what I use, okay? And what color head do I use? It doesn't. I don't really care. I'm looking at right now. I'm looking at one that from Walmart. That's a chartreuse head. Again, the chartreuse is going to be the highlighter yellow. I've got white as well. One thing that I do like to use is, and I'm looking at this one that's actually made by Roadrunner, so I guess that's where I got the name from. This is a 1/8 ounce. So kind of on the smaller side, chartreuse head, but it's got a red hook. And that is actually something that I've gotten into the past 10 years or so. I think the red, kind of mimics an injured bait fish. So, okay, does it really work? I don't know, but I digress here. So, but this Roadrunner, okay, in that size, whether it's the 1/8 or the 1/4 or even the 1/16 ounce or truthfully, whatever, okay. The bass and the bluegill or the panfish rather, or crappie included, of course, are going to bite that. All right. So when it comes to kids, obviously you're looking for the easiest thing they can cast, and then something that they are, quote unquote, guaranteed to catch fish on. Okay. Well, this particular type of lure is really good. Now, when you go look this up, you'll say, well, wait a minute, Richard. All I see is a hook. What else do I need to put on there? Well, of course, you need to put a tail on there, okay? And I am a firm believer in Berkeley Power Baits little jig bodies, okay? They have been tremendous, and I use them all the time. And there's any stock tank in the state of Texas, probably any lake, definitely any lake in the state of Texas, probably in the country, rather. These lures these power bait are just incredible. Okay. And I buy white power bait, and I buy white power bait, jig tubes. And then I buy the, yellow, and then I'll do chartreuse. Okay. And so what I do is, again, kind of getting back to the strategy I was going into here, is again, with the kiddos, we're looking for the most success. Okay. So if I've got 4 kiddos and I got 4 poles, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to put a different jig body on each one of those setups. And so that way, if little Susie and little Alice are getting hits on the chartreuse jig head with the white power bait body, I know, okay, we really got something. So, ironically enough, going to this past weekend, that's exactly what happened. The white-bodied jigs were getting smashed. Okay, they were getting hammered by the bass and by big red-eared sunfish. Which again, I'm not claiming to be the expert, but I have found that the red-eared sunfish are definitely the biggest of the quote-unquote bluegill. Okay, we all call them bluegill. But the red-eared sunfish are the biggest, and then, man, they are super aggressive. So a lot of fun for the kiddos. So we were pulling in all kinds of bass and red-eared sunfish and some other little bluegill with didn't matter the jig head, but the white body. So guess what we did? We were changing all the bodies to that. It was a quick change, right? So, kids and patience. It was also starting to sprinkle a little bit. Wind was howling. But let me tell you, man, they were all catching fish. Every single one. 5 girls brought in 5 different fish. Or excuse me, 2 different fish each. Okay? Which was just awesome. I mean, that was ultimately the goal. Right there, that was exciting, and they absolutely had a ball, and several of them, I think they had obviously fished before. I know they had all fished with me, but it was funny. It'd been a while, maybe in some cases a year and a half, something of that nature, and it was funny how they just kind of fell back into it. They absolutely love it. And really, again, with that Zebco push button reel experience where the kid's able to cast it out there and then let it sink just a hair bit depending on where you are. And that's the other thing. Teach them a little strategy too. Okay, Mr. Kenchlow, why are you telling me to put my rod tip up? What are we trying to do here? You'd be surprised. Even little 9-10-year-old little girls, they pick up on it. They get it. You're the whole Bible saying, right? Teach a little girl to fish, or anyway, and she'll definitely be a good wife eventually, right down the road. So that was just tremendous. In fact, the fishing was so good that they didn't want to leave. We had a couple other things that we were trying to knock out. It was getting cold. Okay, wind was howling out of the north. It was sprinkling. But man, a great time had by all, doing a little fishing on a cold, windy, sprinkly spring day. So definitely probably the highlight of the trip. And then I'd say the second part that made it just a really kind of a magical experience not magical, but a really good time for them is that. Is the driving around piece. We talked about getting these kids exposed to nature, showing them this, showing them that. So one of the things that we did was we went out cruising. We saw some antelope, we saw some axis, a whole bunch of whitetail. Okay, but a lot of the plant species too. Okay, the bluebots were up, the paintbrushes were coming up. I saw a lot of milkweed, okay, which was kind of cool. And, got to explain to them that, for example, we were standing over a milkweed plant. And I said, you're not going to believe this, but this particular plant right here is so sought after by the monarch butterfly, it's not even funny. Like, it is the most important plant to a monarch butterfly in the entire state of Texas. I mean, like, they got to have it, live or die, And it was kind of cool to watch those kids kind of absorb that. Like, oh my gosh, that's pretty cool. Because obviously, in Plano, Texas and Dallas, Texas, you ain't got a lot of milkweed. Okay, you'll see butterflies, but you just kind of see them in passing, right? So again, to put context to what you're doing when you see a butterfly and what why these things are important or tremendous. And actually going back to the fishing again. One of the things that we talked about in detail was we started pulling fish out, and they were like, "Oh, okay, are we gonna eat these fish?" And I said, "Well, no, we're not this particular trip. but we are going to take them out of the tank. And why are we doing that? Okay. And I said, well, first of all, we're taking them out because there's some people that want to eat them. Okay. I said, but more importantly, I explained the whole habitat. Okay. And I showed them the bellies of these bass and said, the bellies of these bass look pretty darn good. Okay. But as the summer comes, okay, and then we get into summer and the water the level goes down, their home starts to kind of disappear, right? And then food becomes scarce. And again, that kind of resonated with them. So again, adding context to the experience, I think is extremely important. So again, while we were driving around, we also stopped in a couple of good spots where we have found some shed antlers before. Well, quite frankly, we find them all the time in these particular areas. Unfortunately, they were nowhere to be seen. So then again, starting to rain a little bit, but they were on top of the high rack, and boy, they're having a great time. Okay, we've got a high rack, top of one of our UTVs. All 5 of them were able to fit up there, no problem. Little snug. Not sure that they'll be able to do that next year, but they'll be in 5th grade then. But really, really cool to have the eyes in the skies, and they found some shed antlers as we were driving around. So that was pretty cool. One of the things that we did, though, to ensure success, and of course, one thing you must understand about the kids and the parents that were here on this experience, and of course, obviously this goes for me very much so, is you ain't always going to get a trophy, right? But when it comes to these outdoor experiences, anything that you can do to promote an exciting and fun experience for these kids, boy, is just tremendous. Okay, so my father, okay, had a very large bucket of antlers. Okay, our cup overfloweth when it comes to just little 4-point sheds, things of that nature. Nothing that obviously we're just tickled to death to have them, right? But obviously we're more than happy to give them away to people, especially if they're going to be, put on people's bookcases. We're going to bring back memories, things of that nature. So, after our shed antler hunting wasn't as good as we had desired, I encouraged my father and mother to go out on a specific road, and just so happened to lose 10 antlers on the side of the road. So on some of these trails. And so as we were cruising along, that's exactly what happened. Now, the funny thing about it is that we did not just pick up 10 antlers. We actually picked up 12, which was kind of funny. So we actually ended up finding 2 more antlers than we had originally anticipated. So, thought that was kind of funny, kind of crazy, kind of neat. So, but again, the kids really enjoyed that part of it. What else did we do? We also gave them a lot of time to just be kids. Okay, we're blessed to have a pretty good little bunk room at the house at Rancho Bandido, and so they spent a lot of time up there doing little dances and all the kinds of things that little 4th grade girls do this day and age. So obviously that's real important. But then it was back to s'mores, and we did some grilling and things of that nature. Again, we didn't do any shooting. That was kind of the one thing I really, really, really wanted to do with them. But we did not end up doing that. And I guess the main reason why, it was cold. It was kind of wet. I didn't feel like getting the guns kind of wet. And quite frankly, they were done. They were whooped. So that was okay with me. Another something that we also do, we do it every single time, is going by the feeders. Okay, they love seeing all the tracks. And I will traditionally always grab them a big handful of protein and cottonseed and corn, and we'll explain, what this does for them. So on and so forth. So, kind of a cool experience, and something that I hope that they will remember for a very, very long time. So, anyways, need any tips, advice, help on getting your kids in the outdoors, please go on our social media, email us, whatever, man. We're here to help. It's just, as we've always said, for the guys since 2016, since we've been doing this thing, so important to get those kiddos out there and get them involved. So whatever you can do, get them involved. But as we always like to say here, go support your local feed store, folks, and go Texas, baby.
Well, I hope the Bandits gave you an interesting episode that either entertained or educated you. Or better yet, both. Hell, I told them this podcasting thing looks harder to do than defeating Santa Ana. So if you would, please help them out by sharing it with all your like-minded friends to help the Bandits get the word out. And don't forget to check us out at feedbandit.com and grab some gear and apparel to support the cause of Texas. Remember, Texas, above all else, preserve the tradition, protect the legacy. Finally, as I said some time ago on the eve of the great battle, and I vigorously repeat here again, be men, be free men, that your children may bless their father's name. Well, fellow bandit, until next time.